I know it's been a few days, but this lesson or this unit deals with rational numbers. Can you tell me what a rational number is? Tell me what a rational number is, Sarah?
It can be like number that can be written.
Right. Any number that can be written as a fraction. Okay. They can be positive, they can be negative, they could be decimals that end or repeat. So here we have an example of 5 rational numbers, 2 of them in decimal form, 3 of them in fraction form. One of the things you should know how to do is order rational numbers, smallest to largest, their largest to smallest, and plot them on a number line. So somehow we've got to put these in order from least, smallest to largest. I've got negative 1.2, 4 over 5, 7 over 8, negative 0.5 repeating, and negative 7 over 8. First problem is, I don't like that some of them are fractions and some of them are decimals. They're kind of hard to compare. So why don't I change them all to decimal? How do we do that? Well, okay, negative 1.2. Well, we don't have to change that. 4 over 5. I need to change that to a decimal. How would you do it? I'll tell you how you do it. You use this thing and just do 4 divide 5. 4 divide 5. And that's going to give you 0.8. When you see a fraction, change it to decimal by using your calculator. 7 over 8. 7 divided 8 on your calculator is going to give you 0.875. Negative 0.5 repeating, remember that's the same as negative 0.555 and 5's forever. And if 7 over 8 is negative 0.875, negative 7 over 8 is negative. So these are the numbers. Now that we've got everything in decimal, we should be able to see which ones are the smallest and which ones are the largest. Would you all agree that all the negatives would be smaller than the positives? So we know that the smallest ones are going to be negative 1.2, negative 0.555555, and negative 0.875. Okay? And that these are going to be larger. The question is, out of all 3 of these negatives, which one is the smallest? Remember, everything that happens in the negatives is the opposite, right? Like if you think of positive numbers, 3 is greater than 1. 3 is bigger than 1. But if you go into the negatives, negative 3 is smaller than negative 1 because it's further away from 0 on the number line. Go ahead, Sadie. This would be the smallest. What would be the next one? Claire?
Is it negative 0.8?
Right. This, like, if you think of these as positives, negative, this is bigger. But in the negatives, this is smaller. Okay? So you got to think the opposite is happening in the negatives. So the next one would be -7/8. If you wrote -0.875, that's fine. If you wrote that, that's fine. Because they both mean the same thing. I'm just writing the original ones. So that's fine. Obviously, the next largest one is the last negative. So -0.5 repeating. Now we're into the positives. Which one's smaller? Sorry? 4/5, because it's 0.8, and 7/8 is a bigger decimal. So there's our order. So that's answering half the question. The other half is we're actually going to put all these on a number line. So let's start our number line. We need positives and negatives. Let's start 0 here, which means this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, this is going to be -1, this is going to be -2, and this is going to be -3. Where do we put -1.2? Claire?
Well, wouldn't it technically just be, like, technically, honestly.
Say again?
Like, okay, so.
Or do you want to write it? Or do you want to show it?
Like, I'm not sure, but like, if you had, technically, it's just like, maybe I'm wrong, but just get that, right there, and that.
Oh, no, yeah, no, because these are whole numbers.
Oh, I know, so what did you put that there?
Now you're getting better. But if we look at this, sorry, I'm going to take these out. You're right. But what two numbers is -1.2 between? Is it between 0 and -1 or -1, -2? Right, it's somewhere in here. Okay. The question is where? Well, think about it. Yeah, go ahead. Where do you want to fly?
Yeah, I'm gonna be like,
Stop it.
I'm gonna be like, around like,
Yes. Exactly. Why did she put it there? Because think about it this way. Here, what number would be halfway between? -1.5. But -1.2 is bigger. So it's -1.2 has got to be in here, and it's about halfway in between. So you don't have to be perfect, but you have to be in the general area. So that kind of tells us where. So -1.2 would go there. -7/8 is between which two integers? 0 and -1. Is it closer to -1 or is it closer to 0? It's closer to -1 because it's like this would be here. This would be -0.5. -0.875 would be somewhere around here. So this is -7/8. Draw the layouts. Just to make sure. Where would we put -0.5? Nicole?
Between the 1 from 0 and -1.
Okay, but whereabouts?
And
Not sure.
I know I just remember.
What, okay. Yeah, it's pretty close to -0.5, slightly bigger. or sorry, slightly smaller. So it'll be somewhere around here. If you put it halfway in between, that's fine, because remember, we're approximating this. So this is negative 0.5 degrees. Okay, we've taken care of the negatives. Positives you should be familiar with. So our next one is 4/5, which is 0.8. Where would it go? Sarah?
3.1.
Yeah, and whereabouts?
Can I write?
Yeah, as well. Oh, that's good. Somewhere around there. And 7/8. Where would that one go, Lucy?
Um,
Yeah, sure. Exactly. To the right, because it's bigger than 4/5. Good. So that's how we would plot them. Okay? So you should be familiar with how to order positive and negative rational numbers in decimal or fraction form. Another thing is to compare, like we do in example 3. I want to know which of these rational numbers is bigger. What's the first thing you do? Sadie?
You have to make the denominator the same.
You could. Is there a quicker way? Can I? You can't reduce those ones. Lucy,
divide.
let's change them to decimal. Because usually it's easier to do things when they're in decimal form than fraction. But Sadie, you're still right. You could have made common denominators to compare the two. Okay? So you could have put them both over 12 and figured out which one was larger. So I'm not, yeah. But I'm just saying, go to decimal. You've got the tools at your disposal. What is negative 3/4 as a decimal, Claire?
Negative.
Negative 0.75. And negative 2/3, Nicole?
6 would be.
And that 6 just goes on forever. Once they're in decimal form, they're generally easier to compare. Which one's bigger? In other words, which one's closer to 0? There.
Negative. Wait, which one's smaller or bigger?
Bigger.
Negative. 0.6.
Yes. This is greater. Because remember, if these were both positive, we'd say this one. But in the negative, the opposite happens. Finally. Okay, finally. What does that want? Oh, we're, yeah. Okay. Find 3 rational numbers between each pair that you get. Well, this one should be pretty straightforward. You could do a number line to help you and say, okay, negative 3.26 is over here. 1.25 is over here. Obviously, 0 is somewhere in here. I got to find 3 numbers in between here. Can you give me 3 numbers? One I actually just wrote.
0.
0. 0 is between there. Try and find the easy numbers. What else? 1. Because 1's smaller than 1.25. Yep.
I could like do like 1, 2.
Sure. Yeah, you could have picked all positive numbers. We could have done -1. We could have done -2. We could have done -3. Can't do -4 because that's outside. But yeah, sure, pick all positive numbers. This next one is a little tricky. -0.26 and -0.25. Well, -0.26 is smaller. Than -0.25, right? So what may help when it's maybe not obvious to you is what could I add here? And still not change the value of it. I could add as many of them as I wanted. What? 0. Maybe this might be easier. Can you see the number between them now? -0.7. Finley? 0.252. Yep. Because it's between 250 is between, or sorry, 252 is between 250 and 260. And then you could just do -0.253, -0.254, -0.255, 256, 257, 258, 259. Can't do 260 because now we're no longer in between. Sure. Or C, you could do common denominators or just change each one to a decimal. This is -0.5 if you just divide it. This is positive 0.25. So if we draw it on the number line, -0.5 is to the left, because it's in the negatives. 0.25 is over here, and 0 is going to be between them, and it's going to be closer to 0.25. So 3 numbers. Yep. -0.4, because that's less. You want to finish it off, then? 0.1, because it's less than this. One more. 0.20 or 0.2. We could have just done 0. We could have done -0.1. We got quite a few to choose from. It's good. Okay, these ones, again, change them to negative. Make life easy on yourself. Or sorry, change them to decimal. So the wrong thing. So we've got -0.5 here, which is smaller than -0.25. And I got to find numbers here. Well, let's make the number of decimal places the same. Let's just call this 50. So really we're finding, think of it like you're finding numbers between 25 and 50. But they have a negative and a 0 point in front. So what would be one? Sorry?
-0.28.
-0.28. Yeah. You want to give me another one? Lucy? Negative 0.41. Yeah. One more. Claire? Negative 0.3. Yeah, that's right. Good. Okay. So this first lesson on rational numbers had quite a bit in it. We talked about what rational numbers were. We talked about how to write rational numbers. Then we talked about how to order them, how to compare them, and how to put them on a number line. Okay? The rest of the unit is actually going to combine two things that you should already know how to do. Do the 4 operations with fractions and do 4 operations with positive and negative numbers. Okay, so it's really going to be just a slight extension of the review unit that we did. So for next Wednesday, I know we have class tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do 2.2. So for next Wednesday, I'd like you to do exercises 2.1 and 2.2.